I always tell people that you don't have to make a long keynote. It's totally fine if it's just a few minutes. That's cool. That's all you need. Hi everyone, I'm Mike. I am the human that runs this event here. The Ludum Dare Game Jam is an event that some friends and I started 19 years ago. And, well, it's my fault we're still doing it almost 20 years later. Sorry. This event, Ludum Dare 48, is kind of a big deal for us. Our very first event in April of 2002 was a 24-hour event. A couple dozen of us got together and made games from scratch in just a day. Was it intense? Oh yeah. Did we go all night without sleeping? Uh-huh. Were we hooked? Yeah, I think so. So after an intense day, a few of us got together and we formalized things. I drafted the rules, we chatted, iterated on them, and just a few months later, we ran our very first 48-hour event in July of 2002. And thus the LD48 was born. The nickname LD48 stuck pretty early on. Even though we were running Ludum Dare 4 or 5, we still called it LD48. Was there confusion? Yeah. Is this LD12 or LD48? Both? As you can probably imagine, the question was eventually asked, hey, what happens when we reach LD48 for real? It's been a really long time, so if we actually promise something, I forgot what it is, and I'm sorry. One thing I decided is that whenever it finally happened, I knew I was going to do a thing. And I guess that's this. But the thing about milestones is they kind of sneak up on you. I mean, yes, I have had 19 years to prepare for this, but I wasn't prepared. So let's just do what everyone else does in a milestone video. Before the current website, did the website always use WordPress, or was there something before that? Ludum Dare started as a forum some 20 years ago. Jeff was operating a small indie games business called Lupin Games, and it's my understanding that he wanted to create a community of sorts for the more serious independent game developer. He was a regular contributor to GameDev.net, which I must say was the premier game dev website back in the 2000s. The impression I got, though, was that the GameDev.net forums just weren't working for him. Fast forward to 2002, something called the Indie Game Jam happens. Word got out about this invite-only event, and if you ask me, the correct response to not getting invited to a cool party is to get mad and start your own cool party. So that's what he did. Maybe not the get mad part, but he threw together an announcement on his forum, gave it a date, some rules, and then posted about it on the GameDev.net homepage. That's where most of us come in. Like, I'm sure the post said something like, come join us, we're gonna make games from scratch in 24 hours, which we responded with, that sounds insane, I'm in. The first events ran on Jeff's forum. Unfortunately, running an event like Ludum Dare is a lot of work. In the early years, we actually had a hard time with consistency. My thing was always run an event in April, which we did. For some reason, folks agreed with me, but whenever Jeff was unavailable, we had to pick up the slack. Jeff got tired of running it after a few events, so Richard stepped in. Richard ran a couple more, but then he moved on. Other Mike ran a couple more after that, but then he moved on. I think at this point, Jeff came back for one more event. Finally, Phil and I collaborated on the WordPress website. Phil eventually moved on, and that's how y'all got stuck with me. I mean, in hindsight, me cheerleading always run an event in April was kind of obvious that it would eventually become my problem. What does it take to run a Ludum Dare event, and how many people are involved? Well, it takes one of these, a bunch of this, a few computers, and insomnia. That's a joke, but also a little bit not a joke. When is the last time you took part in LD48? I guess not since we launched the new website. Let's see. It looks like April 2013, and this was Ludum Dare 26. After a hiatus of sorts, I started a long streak of making a game every year with my friend Derek, but that lasted only 2 years. Any funny stories about developing the site's backend? Sure, if by funny you mean sad. Let's just say I've been using phpMyAdmin for the past 13 years to run events. If you don't know what that is, that's a tool that lets you edit a database by hand. I mean, it's not supposed to be the way you enter data. Did you expect Ludum Dare to take off like it did? Joke answer, yes. Real answer that sounds like a joke? I still don't believe it. In my mind, Ludum Dare is still this thing that me and a few friends get together and do, like a fishing trip. In my brain, it's not this serious, internationally recognized game industry thing that changes lives, makes lives, saves lives. Like what? Which 3 jams were the most memorable to you and why? One of my favorite Ludum Dare themes was Swarms. I remember really liking this theme, building my game, but for reasons I ended up aborting and not submitting. This was 2006. I can't remember exactly what was happening at the time, but I did just finish a nearly 6-year stint of back-to-back game industry crunch. I got my start in 1999, worked my way up at some companies, ran teams, took a job as the tech director at another studio, grew that studio into a successful company, and then I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm tapping out. I mean, yeah, I was burnt out. I want to say it took maybe a year to recover from all of that. I still really like Swarms. It's one of those themes that I want to go back and redo someday. Another theme that stands out is evolution. One of the longest running gags in early Ludum Dare history was evolution making it to the final round, but never getting selected. But in 2012, it actually won. But also by that point, we'd grown into a community of many thousands. I guess all those new people didn't get the memo that you're not supposed to pick evolution in the final round. This isn't a theme, but it's another event that stands out to me. I actually don't remember what event this was, but as the guy running the event, I used to be really strict about not checking the theme until just a few minutes before the event started. Well, one year, these servers just couldn't handle the amount of attention we were getting. I mean, it was so bad that I couldn't even check what the theme was to announce it. The announcement came maybe 15-20 minutes later than the event was supposed to start. Ugh. These days, I close the voting 30 to 60 minutes before we start. I also check and take snapshots a few hours before, just in case. What's the story behind the First Jams theme? First Jams theme. I'm going to assume we're talking about the 24-hour event. Unfortunately, that was so long ago that I can't really remember how we picked the theme. I want to say it's something that Jeff just chose and revealed at the start, but it's also possible we had like the 2002 equivalent of straw poll going and it was selected that way. Wait, was there another part to that question? All right. I'm pretty sure he knows the story. We've hung out at local game dev meetups before, and you know, I'm sure it's come up. It's been like 7 years since then, so yeah, let's tell the story. As the human person that runs the Ludum Dares, I'll sometimes do things that just amuse me. One of those is adding obvious joke themes to the theme voting rounds. Things like Justin Bieber, Rickrolls, that sort of thing. And every time I do that, the joke themes get downvoted into oblivion. That's how this works. You're supposed to hate him. Well, that happened every time, except for that one time. I added a theme that was just simply the emoji of a snowman. Anyway, I get to chat with a lot of people as the guy that runs this Ludum Dare thing. I've gotten to know a number of Jeffs over the years. We'll call this one Canadian Jeff, not to be confused with other Canadian Jeff, okay? So it's 2014 and Canadian Jeff was starting an awards show. I believe he described it to me as a celebration of gaming. His goal was to bring together all sides of gaming, and he was familiar with our shenanigans. He also noticed that our schedules perfectly aligned. Both the show and Ludum Dare 31 started on the same day and at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. He proposed giving us a shout out on the show, announcing our theme, and mentioning us live on the air. Something like, check out Ludum Dare after the show. Go watch games get made. I mean, as far as Twitch raids go, that would have been a pretty epic one, am I right? Could our servers handle it? You know, I try not to think about that part, okay? Unfortunately, it just didn't pan out. Productions like award shows are very down to the wire. You're doing rehearsals the day of, and things get cut and changed up until pretty much the last minute. Canadian Jeff reached out, I want to say an hour or two before the show, and let me know that we didn't make the cut. That's fine. I mean, it probably saved us a catastrophic server outage, but this whole experience, coordinating things, watching the show happen, even without us part of the show, this was still one of my favorite, most memorable moments running Ludum Dare. Now though, here's the part where I share my frustration with you lot. All of you that took part in the theme vote back then. I mean, this thing is entirely actually my fault, but it's funnier to blame all of you for this. So yeah, in case of tragic server failure, I start taking snapshots and checking the winning theme a few hours before. I want to say it was 6 hours before the event started. Guess what theme was winning? So me. I'm here losing my shit, and I have to keep the stuff all secret as an emoji of a snowman is not only in the lead, but by hundreds of votes. If this was any other Ludum Dare, that'd be fine. You know, we're silly, we have fun. But in a few hours, I need to message Canadian Jeff and tell him that the theme is the emoji of a snowman. Information that he's gonna share with hundreds of thousands of people. The emoji of a snowman eventually loses ground to other themes. Crisis averted. In hindsight, I could have just said the theme was snowman. I mean, that's not weird. I mean, I think it's actually quite interesting. You've got the stacking, you've got the melting, you've got the piecing things together. Yeah, there's like a lot of angles to take inspiration from. But in the moment, I only saw how embarrassed I would be trying to explain emoji to Canadian Jeff. I'm pretty sure that was the last time that I did a joke theme. Have you ever considered a different method to pick the theme? Yes, I have a new system that I call Theme Fusion. It replaces the slaughter and some of the extra work that I have to do on my end. The way it's presented is instead of being shown one theme like in the slaughter, you're showed two themes. And with these two themes, you pick your favorite, or if you notice that they're too similar, you say, hey, these are similar. The pool of themes will include previous winning themes, so we can then cross-reference that data to say, hey, this theme is too much like a theme that won, and then use that to better filter out and get a more unique set of themes. What would be your advice if you want to participate but still have to do usual things like take kids to activities, etc. I don't have kids, but I have one of these. If your time is precious, you should aim to make a simpler game. Something you would have made if this was a 24 or 48-hour event, but instead you give yourself the full 72 hours to do it. In that vein, you mentioned family, and one of my favorite suggestions that I've heard people say is that they try to get their whole family involved in the event. That doesn't mean they're programming it, but they might collaborate with you on the idea, or record sound effects for you, or make some artwork that, some little scribbles or doodles that you stick on the walls as a sort of gallery. Find out what works for your family. What's your favorite pronunciation of Ludum Dare?
John C.
How has Ludum Dare evolved over the years, and where do you see it going in the future? There is a lot to talk about regarding the future, but I need to wrap this up. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'll be back next week with a video like this, and hey, we'll talk about future stuff. Cool? That's it for me. Thanks so much, everyone. This has been a crazy, incredible journey we've gone on together, and I hope you join us for the next one. Bye-bye.